Now, there is no doubt about it that the Walt Disney Company has a ton of quote-unquote Disney hires that are labeled as difficult to work with or very much insufferable, if you will. In particular, focusing on ABC and their program The View, we're looking right at Whoopi Goldberg and what's been going on between herself and another major Hollywood studio within the film industry as it begins to crumble throughout all of 2024. It's not a good year for not just the Walt Disney Company, but for also a lot of other studios out there getting caught in different traps. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So one thing about Whoopi Goldberg is that we know that she was axed by a major role for Toy Story 5 just a couple of weeks ago. We talked about this just a couple of days ago, actually, about what happened there for her character Stretch, making a very big return in the upcoming 2026 film. But this is where things begin to unravel and get even more complex when it comes down to her getting fired and removed from a major Hollywood studio within the film industry. Let's discuss. Now, one thing about Goldberg is that we know that she's very self-absorbed as a person. She's very overly demanding. She makes the most outrageous and insane comments out there on live television, and it's turning off a lot of studios out there, in particular, DreamWorks. Let's dive into this. Now, what's interesting about this has a lot more to do with Whoopi Goldberg and how she acted toward the studio heads over at DreamWorks. We're talking about the executives and its CEO, etc., for one of the major roles that she was actually offered and signed on for that is now officially no longer happening after she got fired from that. Now, with the Disney hires, of course, like Whoopi Goldberg, for example, already going through multiple challenges after losing a multi-million-dollar deal for Toy Story 5 and among other contract deals, one monumental development going on now involves Goldberg's involvement at another studio that recently fell into chaos. A significant update to the situation now involves how, surprisingly, Whoopi was locked into doing voiceover work for a major character coming to Shrek 5 by DreamWorks in 2026. This was going to be yet another multi-million-dollar deal that she was signed on for and was going to begin recording as soon as this December alongside Eddie Murphy for the new character role in Shrek 5. Now, Goldberg, as it turns out, was recently fired and removed from that very role at DreamWorks after she was not only making a list of outlandish demands behind the scenes for her payout at DreamWorks, sound familiar, guys? For a new character codenamed Wick, but that also the studio heads at DreamWorks, as of late, have been very turned off about her insane comments that she has been making on her program on ABC at The View via the Walt Disney Company, along with how Whoopi Goldberg also got very aggressive with the DreamWorks studio heads after they decided to cut down her screen time in the film for voiceover work. Now, this is something that sparked outrage from Whoopi toward the CEO of DreamWorks, as Goldberg was also set to provide voiceover work for the Donkey spin-off film as well for this character codenamed Wick, a new villain coming to the Shrek franchise. To make matters worse for Goldberg is that she was going to be paid around $4 million for this role and another $3 million for the Donkey spin-off film to work hand in hand with Eddie Murphy behind the scenes. That is now no longer happening anymore after Goldberg got very difficult to work with behind the scenes at DreamWorks. Now, this was a last-minute decision reportedly by DreamWorks and its CEO after they also learned that even the Disney company dropped her from Disney Pixar's Toy Story 5, that if Disney removed her from that project, she must be a major risk for any studio out there to even bring her on as a hire. Now, DreamWorks wants to take no chance at getting caught in any kind of a drama or a setback, as they plan to resurrect the Shrek brand in a very expansive way, mind you, that they plan to make lasting, of course, well over a decade. Now, though Goldberg is still hired by Disney for the time being, she is being dropped from projects left and right. Now, guys, before I move on, let me just say one thing about Whoopi Goldberg, is that it's nothing new, nor is it surprising that she is so self-absorbed. She's been like this since a very long time ago, in fact, since well over 20 years ago, believe it or not. Right when she was beginning to change her attitude in the film industry. Now, we all know that ever since, her role over at The View and how Disney really took over a lot of aspects of that show, that's where things really began to turn for her on a major scale, and why there are so many people that are no longer fans of Whoopi Goldberg anymore. But what's interesting about this is the fact that she was involved in these major multi-million-dollar deals by two major competitors, Walt Disney Company and DreamWorks, who, by the way, are creating two competitive projects. You got Shrek 5 coming out in 2026, and you got Toy Story 5 coming out in the same exact year. Ironically, both are fifth films in their own franchise, that Whoopi Goldberg was going to be involved in both of them, which is very odd, and even weirder the fact that she was dropped from both of them. Now, this came as a result in many different factors. The biggest one of all, that was considered to be a deal breaker for the studio heads at DreamWorks, is that, like I said before, they recently learned that even Disney dropped Goldberg from Toy Story 5, and that was kind of like a big, warning sign for them, a major red flag, if you will. If Disney is willing to drop her from a project, then maybe they should too, and that's what caused them to get rid of her as well, after those arguments between Whoopi Goldberg and the DreamWorks studio heads were being exchanged time and time again for the past number of months. Now, this is where things begin to unravel. Now, on top of that, she was also completely fired from DreamWorks. She's not going to get any roles after this for this new character as well, that is now going to another older actress around the same age as Whoopi. This new actress is described to be more of an unknown talent that will take over Goldberg's role, which created even more outrage from Whoopi toward DreamWorks and the studio heads there. In addition to this, as a result of Whoopi losing any involvement for a future DreamWorks role, she is now seeking other voiceover roles at other studios within the film industry. Good luck on that, by the way. Now, this also comes in the wake of how she's trying to also kickstart or resurrect her comedy career, her stand-up career, if you will. She has a history of that somewhat, and the fact that she wants to do that, I think, shows desperation. We all know that the views ratings are just tanking hard lately. ABC's ratings are tanking hard, and we all know why, by the way. And it's not looking good for Bob Iger. Not for this year, not for next year, or the year after that. And a lot of studios are picking up on that. A lot on that behavior. A lot on that transition, if you will. And that's why DreamWorks acted the way that they did and called it quits with Whoopi Goldberg. So this is yet again another movement. We saw a similar thing happen with Robert De Niro over at, of course, Warner Brothers / Lionsgate. And that was another whole thing that we talked about just a couple of days ago. You guys may or may not have heard about that, but we talked about it, and if you guys want to go ahead and check it out, it's from like 2, maybe 3 days ago. Interestingly enough, Whoopi Goldberg still stands at The View, and it really makes you wonder, why is this even a thing still in 2024? Who knows? They obviously have a very niche audience that is willing to watch this day in and day out. But overall, guys, drop a comment below, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.